Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So I'm really excited to talk about this deck today. This is my personal deck that I'll be playing through this format for the majority and foreseeable future. I'm ready just to keep adapting this deck over and over and over. I'm a huge fan of just this whole style of play that it's had for a while now, for a few sets, ever since the Our Umon came out for Alphamon. I've just been really in love with the play style of deck it is, and now we've got all this new support, and I wanted to give you like the powerhouse version. Okay, this isn't like an Alphamon pure deck or anything like that. Like, I'm trying to give you like the hardest hitting, most consistent, powerful deck I can possibly throw at you. So it will not be budget friendly, I can guarantee you that. Don't forget our new memory marker this month is Gummymon, so if you're playing any sort of green deck, or you're just a fan of Terriermon or Garglemon in general, this is a great memory marker to get your hands on. This is handmade out of clay by my wife, hand painted as well. You can find this on our Etsy store, link in the description below. Also there you can find all of our previous memory markers that we featured on the channel, as well as some of our Battle Ready Ink merch. Alright, so I've got the whole deck pulled up for you guys as always here, so you can kind of just see what the whole package that we're working with and just kind of follow along with me. I do have 3 cards here at the end that I want to really talk about. I think they're very important, but you'll notice we are 3 cards over in the budget there. So those last 3 are not included in the deck at the moment in this current build, but I definitely think there's argument for trying to work them in somewhere. This deck is tight. It is a very lean deck, and even with it being as lean as it is, it's still extremely tight. So first up for our babies, of course we're still rocking the Doraemon. We're still doing the whole strategy of placing cards as inheritables, you know, using all of our effects in multiple different ways. And then, you know, the Doraemon just drawing. Every time you use a hand resource to put it in as an inheritable, getting a draw is pretty powerful. I do still like that. We do it less than in previous versions, but I still think the Doraemon is still the way to go on the baby. Next, we got the Dorumon here as one of our rookies. This is still one of the most powerful ones, as it's got the best inheritable, I think, for all of our rookies. Now, keep in mind, we're also sticking with all X antibodies for this, because having a whole lot of X antibody in the traits Digimon is really important for this. So you'll notice no Tsunarizamon in this build. Sticking with the X antibodies. The gain 1 memory is really powerful, like Doru Greymon, Evo, put a source under, trigger the Dorumon, gain a memory, essentially making your Doru Greymon like a 2 Evo cost. Like, that's really strong, as well as like a couple of our other abilities that also place underneath, just kind of makes things more efficient, as well as this is still just a searcher, right? Reveal 3 added a card of X antibody in its trait. So at the end of the day, it's still just a searcher, even if you want to if the inheritables here don't do it for you, at the end of the day, both of these guys, the Ryudomon next, are still searchers. So on play, reveal 3, add an X antibody. This one just adding Yuji, and the other one adding Coda. And then this one has the Decoy Black inheritable. I've almost never had this come up. I think, depending on how the format evolves, you know, this could be more, important. It could be less important. We'll just have to wait and see how decks want to adapt to going against OTK decks, similar to Alphamon, as well as, of course, Grandis. If they go into more of a security control sort of environment, whether that be BL Star or just doing some sort of yellow hybrid shenanigans, or just yellow decks in general, this Decoy Black could be pretty powerful depending on how the format evolves. But either way, it's still just another X antibody, and it's another searcher. Next, though, is a new addition for the deck in the form of Dorumon as a new form here. Again, another X antibody inheritable, or a traded rookie here. No inheritable on this one, though, but on play, by trashing 1 card of X antibody and its traits in your hand, draw 2. So this is the first card that we're going to see in a long list of you're going to trash an X antibody in your hand to gain some sort of benefit. In this case, we're going to draw 2, which is similar to our searchers here, but you have to give up a hand resource and you get a guaranteed cards rather than C3, maybe pick 1 or 2. So again, still very powerful, and again, just another X antibody. Next, we got the Darugamon that we've had for a while since BT7 here. Just your standard blocker, 2 Evo, 5k blocker here, nothing too crazy, but also has the inheritable of both turns, so all turns, while this Digimon has X antibody in its traits, it gets 1000 DP. Like, this can be relevant. We've got some multiple ways of having blocker in this deck on higher Digimon. So having 1K on your opponent's turn could be relevant. Also, your opponent's like DP reduction effects makes it a little bit more difficult for them to kill them, as well as just like swinging into security, being a little bit safer here. Just multiple great things about that, the Darugomon. Next, we got a new level 4 in the deck. This is replacing the previous one, which I believe was the blocker inheritable. This is going to be the Dex Darugomon. So 0 Evo cost on top of the regular Darugomon. So you can Evo this for 0 in raising area and just get an instant draw, which is really, really powerful. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to promote up your Darugomon and then Evo into this guy for 0, you'll get your draw, and then you'll also get this next effect here of when Digivolving. You may trash one card with Dex in its name or with X antibody in its trait in your hand to gain 1 memory. So essentially, you're just going to plus 1 memory. If you Evo for 0 and use this effect, you just gain 1 memory. That's super, super strong. And then when Digivolving, if this Digimon has Darugomon in its Digivolution cards or Digivolve from trash, one of your Digimon gains blocker and retaliation until the end of your turn. And it doesn't have to be specifically this one. It can be any of them. So if you want to put this on your Mega, give your Mega retaliation so that way your opponent doesn't want to swing over it, might be a good idea. Even if you don't need to use the blocker per se, say your Mega swings, it's suspended. Well, I want to give it retaliation. You can go ahead and do that. So just very flexible, very powerful card. That gain 1 memory as well as a draw is super strong. Next, we got the Darugreymon here, which we've seen before. When Digivolving, you can place one of your black cards with X antibody and its traits from your hand at the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards to prevent effects from deleting it or reducing its DP until the end of your opponent's turn. One of my favorite plays so far has been promote up Darugomon, Evo into the Dex Darugomon, get that blocker retaliation, and then Evo into the Darugreymon. Then the only way they can realistically delete this or get it off field is to like bounce it to the deck or to the hand, or to swing over it. And if they swing over it, it's going to have that retaliation. And so they're really not going to want to do that. So it's a good way to get a lot of your effects on field and or like Evo when you're on field, because you don't want to Evo necessarily always in the raising area, especially the Darugreymon. You want to really get that inheritable put underneath, like your Hour-Umons, or triggering your Dorymons, whatever the case may be. You really want to Evo this guy onto the main field. So having multiple types of protection is very, very comforting. And then, of course, he has the Security Attack +1 inheritable for your X antibodies, which is extremely, extremely important. Darugreymon is one of those ones you really, really got to see. And then to complement him, we've got the Dex Darugreymon here. So Evo for 1 on top of your Darugreymon. And then similar to the other Dex that we had earlier, when Digivolving, you may trash 1 card of Dex in its traits or in its name or X antibody in its traits in your hand to gain 1 memory. Essentially just making this a 0 Evo cost on top of your Darugreymons. Also, I should add, you don't have to Evo them on top of their counterparts. You can Evo them normally and then use their effects to trash and gain 1 memory, and then essentially that makes them the same Evo cost. Your Dex Darugomon become a 2 cost, same as your regular Darugomon, and then your Dex Darugreymon becomes a 3 Evo cost, the same as the other one. So it helps to mitigate it in multiple different ways, whether you're just gaining memory from Evoing on top of its counterpart, or Evoing for 0, just to get multiple inheritables. And that multiple inheritables is super, super crucial for Alphamon, our Yukon, because we want to have up to 7 targets that you can send to the bottom of the deck to gain that memory back. So it's really important to do these Dex Evos, okay? And then when Digivolving, if this Digimon has Darugreymon in its Digivolution cards or Evoed from trash, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So that helps you like clear blockers out of the way and things like that. Or another one that I really like is it deletes memory blockers. And that's one of the reasons I want to talk about one of the cards at the end, is because memory blockers really mess this deck up. So it's really important to clear those stupid memory blockers out of your way before you go into your Aryuken, because if there's a memory blocker on field with the Aryuken, it's definitely a bad time. So if you've seen the feature match, you know exactly, you know, the kind of steps that, you know, had to be taken to clear those memory blockers off field. So that's our level 5 lineup. And honestly, this level 5 lineup for X Antibody, whether you're playing Alphamon or Dorugoromon, it doesn't matter. You're going to have probably the same exact package from level 5 below. Both decks will be pretty much identical. Next up for our megas, though, I went for a 2-2 split of the Alphamons, the original and the new one. I think they both have their uses in their own unique ways. This one, the original having this security effect of like up to 12 of your opponent's Digimon can't attack for the turn. Like, that's really, really strong. And now with the whole deck being X Antibody, you'll pretty much always have something on field that can trigger this. So that's really, really powerful. Yeah, I mean, if we had seen this in the feature match, you know, the Alphamon deck would have won. Just a very strong ability, but also he's also part of your OTK enabler as well. So when attacking, you may pay up to 5 memory. If you do, this Digimon gets 1000 DP for the turn for each memory paid. That can help you swing over big things, but also, you know, you pay this once, you unsuspend with the Aryumon. So you pay 2, and then end of attack, gain 2. So you just get that memory right back, and then you swing a second time, and then after that attack, you gain 2 more, and then that allows you to go into like a hybrid for a game. So gaining that 2 memory back, very, very, very strong. Really like that Alphamon, but also the new one is really great for when you need to be a bit more on the control aspect. Say you're getting a little bit behind and your opponent is like really starting to put you through your paces. You need to go ahead and act quickly. So you can have this Alphamon here of when Digivolving, place 1 card of X Antibody and traits from your trash to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, which is really easy to get something into trash between your rookie that discards, your Dex Dorugamon that discards, and your Dex Dorugreymon that discards. There should be something with X Antibody in its traits, in its trash. Even if this is the first time, you know, you're getting into a mega on field, like through your discards, you should have something there. Your turn, once per turn, when this Digimon's Digivolution cards increased by effect, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. So that's just a really powerful little bit of control element. De-digivolve one on one of your opponent's things. That's just always super strong. Your opponent might not always see it coming either. So I really just kind of like that for a little bit more control. Also, if you just want to be offensive with it, this is a good late game Alphamon. If you're saying you're going into your second stack, grab back a Dorugreymon with that security attack +1. Say you've already got a Dorugreymon underneath, slide in a second one. Now you got security attack +2. That's really, really strong. I like the flexibility between both Alphamons. Both have their uses 100%. Next, I've got the Aryumon, and I solely view this as just an inheritable. You never want to Evo into this. Like, really, if you've got your stack sitting and raising, waiting for a mega, and you've got some searchers in hand, play some searchers, whether that be Tamers or any of your rookies. Search for an Alphamon before you go into this guy, because like the whole strategy revolves around having an Alphamon on field with an Aryumon as an inheritable. It just makes sense. I mean, I guess in a really, really tight spot, you'll Evo into this, and when Digivolving, you may place 1 card of X Antibody and its traits from your hand under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less. I mean, you could, technically you could clear, a memory blocker or just anything else that's threatening on field. Like, it's not a bad deletion effect. It's just once you stick this, the only thing beyond this is just going straight on top of it with an Alphamon for a full Evo cost, which you don't really want to do. And then your turn, once per turn, when one of your effects places a Digivolution card under one of your Digimon. It should be this Digimon. I think there was an errata on that. This Digimon gains 2000 DP and can't be deleted by your opponent's effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. So again, it's very similar to Dorugreymon, just a little bit of extra protection. But really, it's the inheritable here. End of attack, once per turn. If this Digimon has Alphamon in its name, unsuspend it. And if you stack multiple Aryumons, you can trigger them multiples. Okay, so swing, unsuspend. Swing, say you use Yuji, place a new Aryumon underneath, you can unsuspend again. So it's one of our really powerful plays. Very, very strong OTK strategy for the deck. Next, we got the new powerhouse of the deck in the Alphamon Our Yukin. So Digivolve 3 from Alphamon with Our Umon in its Digivolution cards. And so that's really, really important to have that. Try to trigger that line of effect there. 7 Evo cost normally, so even more expensive if you go straight onto Our Umon. That's a 7 Evo cost. That's more than most level 7s. Most level 7s are 6 Evo cost. This having that nice 3 with a stipulation is definitely the way to go. 16,000 DP is super solid. You're swinging over everything pretty much that can be in security, except for like the mirror and Paladin mode, but no one uses Paladin mode anyways, so you just have to worry about this. But just having a simple DP buff like from their Darugamon and you're good. And then when Digivolving, delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. Super strong. I mean, when is that ever not good? You pretty much always want to delete the thing with the highest play cost. Very niche situations where you're just like, oh, there's a memory blocker. I really need to delete that memory blocker. That's unfortunate. Hopefully, you take care of that with your Dexter Greymon before you go into your Our Yukin here. And then end of your turn, once per turn, you may return up to 7 non-Digi-Egg cards of X antibody and their traits from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of your owner's deck in any order to gain 1 memory for each card returned. So let's add it up here. We got Alphamon. We've got the Our Umon underneath, right, from whatever effect we gave it. Dex Doru Greymon. We've got the Doru Greymon. We've got the Dex Darugamon. We got the Darugamon. And then we have our rookie. That's your 7. You can't use your Digi-Egg. It says so in the text there. You can't use Digi-Eggs. But that's your 7. That's how you get your 7 right there. In a standard list, yeah, the Doru Greymon is what's going to give you that 7th one, and that 7th one should pretty much 9 times out of 10 be the Our Umon. Like, that's really the one you want to go with for sure. So, yeah, just some really solid plays there, really powerful. Just being able to get multiple swings, go into your Mega, pop something, send it back to your turn, like putting you at 4 memory or whatever, just making you positive. That's super strong. Next, we got our one-of option in the main deck here. Congo, crazy strong black card now. Probably one of the most powerful cards in the entire BT9 set. 2 play cost. Until the next time your opponent's turn ends, your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less can't attack players, and cards can't be added to either player's security stack by your opponent's effects. So like stopping Degrade Buster, I mean not Degrade Buster. What is it? The yellow purple one that sends one of your Digimon to your security, like completely turns that off. That's crazy. Like, what a weird way to like go about it, but sure, okay. It's a really interesting way to dodge that card, but also prevent your opponent from recovering. Against a yellow matchup, stopping recovery, super powerful. Stopping them from just being able to like swing with a whole bunch of hybrids, stopping blue from swinging with a whole bunch of hybrids, stopping Grandis from swinging for game, right? The Grandis will still do its full security clear, but they won't be able to swing rookie for game or hybrid for game, which is how they like to end things. So Congo is like the ultimate safety net. And then security, activate this card's main effect. Boom, perfect. This is like Breath of the Gods, but better, because I don't have to pray that this is in my security. I can just hard play this and call it a day. Like, who cares? As long as I can hard play this and pass turn, I'm not afraid what my opponent's got for me. So, very strong card. Next for our Tamers here, very lean package. I've seen like the ratios on the Tamers to be all over the place depending on who's building it. Lots of different ratios for Tamers. So I went with try to go something a little bit more balanced here. I've only got 2 Kodas in here. He is our memory fixer. He's also a searcher. Reveal 4, add 1 X antibody, and its traits among them to your hand. Like that's really good. That's a solid searcher. It's a memory fixer, which is really good. But also the Yuji and Cool Boy also give us ways to having memory, and then the Our Yukin also just getting us memory. Like the need for a memory fixer is a lot less now, specifically for the style of play, because you always want to go your dexes on top of their counterparts, and when you're doing that, you're generating a ton of advantage. Next we got the Yuji still in the deck. The turn you promote up, you draw 1 and gain 1 memory from this. And then your turn, when one of your black Digimon with X antibody and its traits attacks, you may suspend this Tamer to place 1 card with X antibody and its traits from your hand under that Digimon as its bottom Digivolution source. This is a big part of our OTK strategies that we can do, placing multiple our Umons as inheritables under our Alphamon so they can repeatedly unsuspend after every attack is really strong with Yuji, or just getting that first one. Say you don't have the Dorogreymon and you got to go into the Dex Dorogreymon on top of your level 4, and you miss out on sliding in that one. The Yuji is what's going to help you make that comeback and put that source underneath it for you. The Our Umon specifically. So still super strong, very good enabler in the deck. Very, very good enabler in the deck. So I really like him at 3 of at least. Next we got Cool Boy, who is almost like a pseudo replacement for Coda. He is half the play cost of Coda, and then on play reveal 3 instead of 4. Reveal 3 from the top of your deck. Add 1 Digimon card with X antibody and its traits, and 1 option card with X antibody and its traits to your hand. Then place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. So it's like Coda, just better. Well, not in that regard. I guess it's 1 less there, but 2 play costs instead of 4. And then your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon of the same level with X antibody and its traits, you may suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory and draw 1. So if you go double Cool Boy on field, that's the same cost as Coda. You get double searches. You get to draw 2 when you use this ability, and then gain 2 memory. That gaining 2 is essentially going to do the same thing that Coda was doing anyway. Your opponent puts you to 1, Coda puts you up to 2, or puts you up to 3, essentially gaining you 2 memory. Cool Boy does the same thing. Just a little bit different, a little bit more roundabout. Now, it is very dependent on, you have to go into your your level 5s and your level 4s here. So the Dex Dorugumon will essentially gain you 2 memory when you use his effect and the Cool Boy, and then you go into the Dex Dorogreymon. His own effect essentially makes him 0, and then the Cool Boys will then generate you just even more memory on top of that for free, as well as draws. So Cool Boy is very, very strong. I think him at 3 makes more sense than Coda at 3. Coda is still good though. Like, just a memory fixer is still solid. He is also a black, so we have Grumblemon here at the end, who is our hybrid to Digivolve to win us the game, right? And we need multiple black Tamers for that. That's the reason I stuck with 2 Codas instead of, I was doing 1 Coda and 4 Cool Boys, just because Cool Boy is so strong and very memory efficient. And then Coda was just, but Coda's black. Okay, he's a black Tamer. Very important for our Grumblemon. We really, and like Yuji's always suspending himself, so you can't go Grumblemon on top of Yuji. If Yuji's suspended, it doesn't really help you out. So Coda, super strong. Coda's still very strong. I really like him, and that's the main part of the deck. Now, the cards here at the end that I just want to discuss really, really quickly is the X antibody option. 0 play cost. If you have a Digimon in play, you can use it without meeting color requirements. Security, gain 1 memory and add this to hand. I mean, that's really strong just by itself. That's a pretty solid security effect. I really like that. The gain 1 memory is totally unnecessary, but I very greatly appreciate it. And then main, place this card as the bottom Digivolution card of one of your Digimon without X antibody in its Digivolution cards. So this card specifically, if it doesn't have this, you can put it underneath there. And it gives it this inheritable of all turns. X antibody can't be trashed from this Digimon's Digivolution cards by card effects. This is super powerful against blue, and the reason I don't have it in the main deck anymore is because I feel like blue hybrid has severely fallen off. It was already kind of falling off a little bit just because of this card's existence, and then with the hit on the ban list for Tommy, like, it even more so has fallen out of favor. So I really don't expect to see a whole lot of blue, at least not in the beginning, until someone maybe finds something broken with it. So this card really lost its usefulness in that regard, like, instantly, especially with that Tommy hit. So like, I don't know if I really need to run this anymore to counter blue hybrid. And then when attacking, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a Digimon in your hand with X antibody and its traits by paying its Digivolution cost. And it's when attacking, so that's pretty strong also. Through multiple different ways here, attacking twice, and on that second attack, Evo into like your Our Yukin, and then you're going to use your Our Yukin to gain all that memory back, potentially unsuspend, whatever the case may be. Like, it's just a really strong card, like, in that regard. That's the only thing saving it for me, is the fact that I can Digivolve when I attack. But honestly, even then, I have given up on a lot of those cards. Particularly, like, the Alphamon loses his when attacking, like, ability to pay memory. Like, if I go from a 5 into him, you know, I don't get that to pay memory to give him a DP boost. I still get the end of attack ability, at least. But, yeah, a lot of those when attacking effects don't work when you Evo mid-attack, and that's always bothered me. That's the reason I never liked the other level 5 before we had the Dex Duragramon, the one that gave Reboot as an inheritable. I didn't like that one either. Like, I ran it as a 2 of and just had 6 level 5s. Like, I ran it that lean before. So I'm not, like, a huge fan of this card anymore. We do have the Black Memory Boost as something just to keep an eye on. I don't know if it's needed anymore, though. Between all the different Tamers, like, now that we have Cool Boy, basically Cool Boy replaced Black Memory Boost. I don't need Black Memory Boost because I have the Cool Boy now. Cool Boy is going to just repeatedly give me advantage over and over and over. Whereas the Black Memory Boost is like a one-time use here and a one-time use here. You know, now that Gain 2 memory is really powerful in combination with like a Grumblemon, being able to swing for game, you know, just through that kind of line. But I will say without the Sunarisamon, we're a little bit less dependent on this super OTK. Like, this deck isn't hardcore OTK. It does have the ability to, but it's not like its main focus anymore. So I don't feel the need for Black Memory Boost just to ensure that I have the memory for the Grumblemon. And again, we have the Aurayukin now to give us a crazy amount of memory, which is super strong. But I do like the oh god, I hate this word. Isariusian card here. Particularly, again, for memory blockers. If you've played this deck and you've played against someone that repeatedly every single game sticks a memory blocker against you, it is so frustrating. It is unbelievably frustrating if you can't get into your deck's Duragramon on top of your Duragramon. Like, that's so much of an issue. And so I really like this. De-Digivolve 1, and then, you know, put in an X antibody in its traits from your hand as the bottom dilution card of one of your Black Digimon with X antibody in its traits, and then to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 4 or less. Like, that's really strong. It's less about the De-Digivolve is kind of nice, sure, but it's like the cheapest way to reliably kind of delete rookies, and it just has multiple like uses, the De-Digivolve as well as the deleting something that's play cost of 4 or less. Like, it's really nice and flexible. And then the security effect, De-Digivolve 1, then delete one of your opponent's play cost 4 or less. Like, again, against Grandis, this is insanely powerful. That De-Digivolve on top of their Grandis, because Grandis unsuspends at the end of attack. If you De-Digivolve, it doesn't get to unsuspend and attack again. So, like, distance security against Grandis is very strong. And then if they use their Mimis to promote up their rookie to swing for game with, you know, then you can use this to pop that rookie with. Like, there's a lot of really good versatility there. And in the mirror match, the Aurayukin swings in, and then you Digivolve the Aurayukin before they can pass turn to gain all that memory for free. Like, that's pretty strong. Like, it's a solid card. It's still a solid card. There's just no room for it. I think out of all of these last 3, this is the only one that I really kind of wanted to fit in. But if you can really manage your deletion effects, like your Dex Duragramon, if that's going to be enough for you to handle those memory blockers, then don't worry about the Isariusian. And Congo also is a great way to like stop your opponent's OTK strategies without relying on it to hit in security. Just play it when you need it. Whereas this one here, you need it to hit in security to really take good effect there against those decks. But it's got good versatility. You know, I can pop a memory blocker or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know where to fit it in. I've seen people cut this Dorumon down to 2 and only have 10 rookies in the deck. I've seen that. That just feels so lean. Like, this is already lean, and that feels even like more crazy lean. And if I was to do that, I would absolutely put 2 of this guy in there just for that little bit of flexibility. I've also seen some people only running 1 Grumblemon, but with all these searchers that you have, the Cool Boys, the Kodas, the Ryudomon, the Dorumon, like, that's a lot of searchers that you're going to be playing. Very easy to bottom deck a Grumblemon. Yes, we do a lot of cycling, so I really like the 2 of just for that, you know, those cases where you're going to bottom deck the Grumblemon when you really don't want to. That's why I kept the Grumblemon at 2 as well. So, but that's the deck. I'm really happy with it so far. It's so strong. It almost feels unfair at times. I know there's going to be a lot of hate for this deck, but I really do like it. I think it's really cool, whether you're into big stack decks or not. I've always been a fan of like playing Digimon the traditional way of evoing all the way up into a Mega, and this is very much that kind of play style, and I'm all about it.